Hey everyone, speaking to you today from the beautiful country of Croatia, in a room that clearly is not my own. I've come here in order to spend some time with Dorothea's family, and this is where we're gonna sit and just wait for the end of this crisis. But I pray that you are doing well and that you are keeping safe out there. It has definitely been a difficult couple of weeks. A lot of bad news from all over the world have been swamping us on social media and on the TV. Some of us have loved ones that are struggling with this disease, either at home or in the hospital. And clearly, some of us even had to move countries in order to be able to cope with this crisis slightly better. This is definitely a worldwide crisis, unlike anything we have seen in a long time. And it is in this climate of crisis that I felt compelled over the last couple of weeks to go back to a text that is quite familiar to many of us in the Adventist Church, and that's the text of Matthew chapter 24. It's a text that talks about times of crisis, and it's a text that has been shared on social media also quite frequently over the last couple of weeks, even months. It's a text that I want to study a bit in a deeper way in the near future, and I will make sure to share some further thoughts with you very soon. But for now, I want to focus on an aspect of the text that I believe is normally overlooked whenever someone preaches from Matthew 24. In order to highlight that aspect to you, I want to invite you to read Matthew chapter 24, verse 14 with me right now. The text says the following: "And this good news of the kingdom will be proclaimed throughout the world as testimony to all the nations, and then the end will come." Now, today I don't want to focus that much on the later part of this verse. I want to focus on the part about the good news of the kingdom being proclaimed to all the world. You see, just to give you a bit of context, this verse emerges in the midst of a conversation between Jesus and his disciples about the destruction of the temple in Jerusalem and about the end of times and the signs of the coming of Jesus. And the picture that Jesus paints through a big portion of this passage is quite dark. It does have a few glimpses of hope here and there, but it's generally a quite dark picture until we get to verse 14. When Jesus mentions here the good news of the kingdom being proclaimed to all the world, that stands in stark contrast to all of the nasty things, wars, rumors of wars, hunger, disease, earthquakes that Jesus has been talking about up to this point. And what I think Jesus is trying to do is to tell his disciples, guys, yes, all of these nasty things have to happen, but in the midst of this crisis, you need to be beacons of hope. You need to be the ones that are gonna share the good news with the world. And even though I don't necessarily think that the crisis Jesus is referring to in this passage is the crisis that we are living right now, I do think that this principle, this imagery of preaching good news in the midst of a crisis, is a quite relevant message today. Because when we look around us, people are in desperate need of good news. Even this week, there was this American actor, John Krasinski, he's relatively famous, and he started a YouTube channel that he calls Some Good News. It's dedicated to highlighting a lot of social media posts that people forward to him or that he finds online that are messages of hope, of joy in these times of crisis. And he just uses his platform on YouTube to share these messages to a wide audience. It's quite telling that in just 4 days, his first video gathered 11 million views. 11 million views. There's a lot of people out there right now that need to receive a message of hope, of joy. They need to hear some good news. And although I know that it's quite difficult for us in this time of crisis to be the ones that are sharing those good news, because most of the times we are quite anxious about what might happen to us or our loved ones. Sometimes we can also feel a bit down, and that's all perfectly normal. But I do believe that there's some people in our communities that have the ability to look beyond all of that and to find ways in which to share good news, either in words or in actions, to the world around us that is in desperate need of good news right now. So, as I conclude this short thought, I want to challenge you. If you are one of those people that can look beyond this crisis and that is feeling called by God right now to be a beacon of hope, joy, and good news to the world, I want to encourage you to pray and find the best way to do that. Please stay safe. This is a very difficult health crisis, so please stay safe in whatever it is that you do. But if you manage to find a way, either a YouTube channel or some action to your neighbors, to people that are in groups of risk, I would encourage you to go out and do it, so that we can also be the ones bringing good news to the world in the midst of this crisis. I pray that God may keep you safe out there. I pray that God may help you throughout this period. And I pray that God may encourage you to find the best way to share good news with the world in this time of crisis. I'm sending love and blessings to all of you from Croatia, and I hope to see you in person very, very soon.